How's it going, guys? It's Clint. I thank you so much for joining us for the first episode of the new small screen live stream show, Are They Villains? I'm Clint Baker. I'll be leading you on this journey. I'm going to have some help from Edward Lauder and that James guy, our producer. Man, I'm excited. We thought of this series. I thought of this. I was having some thoughts about the villainous Walter Hamada from DC Films, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, if they just got rid of that guy and got somebody else, the DC universe would be perfect. The movies would be great. And then all of a sudden, I said, dude, what do you really know about whose fault it is within DC and Warner Brothers and Tony Emmerich and John Stankey and all these people? And I'm like, what do you really know? And I go, I don't really know anything. You know what I know? I know what the internet tells me. I know what the people on YouTube tell me. I know what all these people tell me, and I develop my opinion. I watch all these videos, and all these people are making these videos, and they're getting clicks off of it. And if they're getting reactions, they're going to keep making these videos. And I started thinking about all of the villains, and there's no greater villain than the evil Kathleen Kennedy of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, she's the blame of everything for Star Wars. And I started thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And I remembered, I'm a little older than some of the people that might be in the chat or watching this or whatnot, but I remember when George Lucas was the villain in the 90s, when and early 2000s, when the prequels came out. Everyone hated George Lucas for a little while. They're like, there's a song, George Lucas raped my childhood. And I was like, people are like, man, if they just get George back. And they're too young to remember. Everybody was pissed at George. And that got me thinking, that got me wanting to make this show. And I thought it would be fun to take an objective look and look at the different things. What do I know about it being an exec? What do I know about being a producer? What does a director do? I know what a lot of those things do, but I'm saying, what do you know about it? But and it's really easy to jump on a bandwagon and pull somebody's opinion from a YouTube video or something you read, and people do it in politics. They do it in all kinds of things. You know what I mean? There's some people that hate Fauci, and there's other people that love Fauci. And I'm like, how is this medical guy turning into a villain? You know what I mean? But it's because they get clicks and views and ratings, and so they're like, okay, let's write about this. And it's really weird. It's really weird and interesting and sad that it's kind of gone this way in our media these days. But I'm gonna talk about all this stuff, and I'm gonna have Edward and James helping me out. We're gonna go through a lot. I took a bunch of notes, and I'm gonna go through all of the stuff that has happened since Kathleen Kennedy has jumped in, and maybe even a little bit before. Let's see if we can get Edward and James joining me. Reese 75 says Kathleen Kennedy killed my parents. Also, I guess we should jump in and say hello to people in the chat, guys. How are you guys doing out there? Please send in your hellos, and we're gonna ask the questions. Is Kathleen Kennedy really that bad? Is it maybe not her fault? Maybe she's a scapegoat. Is there something she could have done? Was she between a rock and a hard place, between the big corporation of Disney and the angry fans? And if you don't think they're angry fans, I know it's turned into a buzzword. It's turned popular for them to say toxic fandom. Yeah, get out of here, man. We're giving you our money, but there are toxic people on the internet, so it's a delicate balance. Let's see here. Am I the villain? I think Kathy's worse than little old me, Walter Hamada said. Jedi Master EJ says, since we have Hamada Burger, should we have Kennedy's quesadillas? Sure. I don't know if that's cultural appropriation or not. It's okay. I'm half. Let's see. Hey, all. Danzig, 1979. Roberta Bobby Anderson. Hi, Clint. How's it going, Roberta? All right, there's the chat. And then we have a little Mark Hamill. Edward, how you doing, man?
I'm very good. It's very strange being in this position.
You're on the other side. So weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It's nice, actually. It's nice for once being on the other side of things.
Kind of like the show started and I was like, oh, I guess I have to start talking now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is. You have to start talking. You have to start answering. Talking to people in the chat as well. So I hope you guys are all doing very, very well, guys. And yeah, it's going to be fun talking about some villains.
It
Or
is
are
going to
they?
be fun. Or are they villains?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to apologize if there was any confusion about the time getting started. That's my fault. And oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there
my
you go.
fault. Yes, and I was expecting to say you to say, "Oh no, that's my fault," and then somebody else to
No,
say,
well,
"No, it's my fault."
I had no idea what was happening. I suddenly got a message from James being like, "Oh yeah, we're on in 15." I was like, "What?"
No, but I had
Yeah, that was my fault because of a typo yesterday. Just a typo. No verbal discussions.
No. See that you told me that this was my series, Clint. This is your baby. You get to be the captain of the ship, and the captain always gets the blame, and that's what we're here to talk about today. That's right.
Oh, nice segue.
You see what I did there?
Very good segue.
Yes.
That is a very good segue.
All right. Well, man, let me look at all. Man, I get so many notes. Okay, well, let me ask you this, Edward. And James, you chime in as often as much as possible because you're an encyclopedia of knowledge on all this stuff. Is it possible that she's not as bad as everyone thinks? And is everything her fault? What do you think? And what do you guys in the chat think?
Okay, I think Kathleen Kennedy is actually something of a hero. I know a lot of people will disagree with me with this because Star Wars. There's a certain section of Star Wars fans, and we are going to go into it in a bit, that really, really don't like Kathleen Kennedy. The thing is, let's be honest here. Without Kathleen Kennedy, we wouldn't have Star Wars. I don't think Star Wars would be what it is today. Like it is in a strong position. And I think you were right at the beginning when you were talking about George Lucas. I actually think to an extent George Lucas is a bit. So maybe we should do one about George Lucas afterwards. But George Lucas is a bit more of a villain because, like, there was a point where
we got the history of George Lucas video coming out.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
But there was a point when especially with the prequel trilogy, when Star Wars was in a pretty bad place. So it's, those movies came out, and then after the prequel trilogy, they did the Clone Wars. I remember that, like the animated series, and that was fine. But really, Star Wars wasn't the same. And then Disney came in, and everyone loves to hate on Disney, but without them, we wouldn't have the Marvel movies, and we wouldn't have these new Star Wars films. And people love to talk about someone called Jon Favreau, and like to say how he is the hero and everything, but let's not forget that there would be no Mandalorian without Kathleen Kennedy. There would be no Rogue One without Kathleen Kennedy. And you know what? These Star Wars films, yes, they might not the new ones. They might not be the best movies ever made, but they brought me back to the cinema to watch Star Wars again, and that is really down to Kathleen Kennedy.
I agree with you completely. Blanda says Edward kind of looks like a villain in the what is this? You're absolutely right, man. And people just lost their mind as soon as she got in. They ended up closing LucasArts, so a lot of the video game people went crazy, and then they canceled Clone Wars. They got done with that. And so people were like, man, I lost my favorite show and the video games all at the same time. But when those new movies were about to come out, people were really excited. Like, people were super stoked. You know what I mean? And we're going to go through all these movies and talk about, and I want to talk about them all and talk about the directors. There's drama on everything as far as like who the director is and who did what and who got fired. And, oh, they fired this, they messed that up. Some of these firings or actually her saving that movie, you know what I mean? And it's real easy for someone to say, oh, this guy directed this and I like that movie, so she screwed up again by firing that guy because I like him. And it's not that black and white. There's a lot of business involved, and first of all, what would you guys say? Well, first of all, I want to say that Kathleen Kennedy might be the greatest movie producer of all time.
I think she is. I think she is the greatest
when you look,
producer.
When you look at her resume, and I'm gonna read off all the stuff real quick, and like when you look at her resume, it is absolutely, it blows your mind. and and I knew she had done a lot of cool stuff. I knew she had worked with Steven Spielberg, but when I read the names, I was getting all kinds of flashbacks of, and I saw more than half of these movies in the theater. You know, it's like, holy crap, she did all this. She is amazing. It's no wonder that George Lucas handpicked her, because if you got rid of her, who are you going to get? Who would George Lucas have gotten? Guys in the chat, who should George Lucas have gotten? And that might be why she hasn't been replaced, even though you know, the suits probably don't think she did that bad because her numbers are fantastic, you know. But
yeah,
you know,
and it was brought out to my, and I knew this as well. Like there is an article over on Small Screen now about Jon Favreau possibly replacing Kathleen Kennedy, and I think it was the Sax God actually spoke to me on Twitter about it and said, yes, well, if you look at the numbers though, I think financially you would say that she hasn't done very well, because the first film, The Force Awakens, made $2 billion at the box office, which is utterly ridiculous. It's a ridiculous sum of money. The second film, I believe it was 1.4 or 1.3 billion.
1.33.
So quite a big step down. And then the final, The Rise of Skywalker, only just cracked $1 billion. But the thing that I'd say to that is, like, how many movies now really have made over $1 billion at the box office? Not that many. It's quite a select club. Many of those films will be like, so you look at Avatar, you look at Titanic, you'll look at some of the Marvel movies. Not all the Marvel movies, mind you. A lot of them don't crack $1 billion. Those films. I honestly, yes, and it is Star Wars, but there was that kind of trepidation when Star Wars came back. They hired J.J. Abrams. That was very much the Kathleen Kennedy decision to bring him in. And I do completely agree with people when they say it's ridiculous that they had no plan for these 3 films. Yes, that is ridiculous. But also you've got to remember where Star Wars was at that point. Star Wars wasn't in a very good place. It had a lot of fans, but there was Star Wars was turned into a bit of a joke, especially after the prequel series. A lot of people were joking about Anakin Skywalker and, you know, all that sorts of stuff that went on the no at the end. I'm pretty sure James will bring that up at some point. You know, the Darth Vader no.
I've got a real quick. I've got a thing that I might even read here in a little bit. That's like a guy talking about the prequels. He just craps all over the prequels. I mean, people talk about those days like they were the glory days. It's like this guy, he basically spends a long time talking about how the original 3, those heroes like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Vader, all these are some of the greatest characters of ever in the history of cinema. Then this guy is like he just goes off, and I was reading this, I started laughing because it reminded me of how much people hated these prequels. They kind of been hailed, and it reminds me. I mentioned this on a live stream we did on Small Screen about how I have a theory, and it's that the boomers love the original 3, and then they look at the prequels like garbage, and everybody freaked out, like this thing I was talking about that I'm about to read, and then some time passed, and the people that grew up with the prequels think the prequels are great because that's their childhood, and now they look at these new ones and they're like, ew. And the people now that love Kylo Ren in 10 or 15 years, they're going to look at whatever future Star Wars has, they're going to hate that, and you're never going to make everyone happy because you've got generations that you're fighting with. You know what I mean? Do you make do you make the boomers happy? Do you make the young people happy? And you have to try to make everyone happy, and you have to try to make movies that pave new ground, but you also have to pay respect to the old stuff. There's a lot of intricate details involved. Like this guy says, we could probably have given incredibly bad dialogue, pointless plots, lack of character in the universe, hadn't been populated. Jar Jar was a huge mistake on every level. He wasn't funny at all, and the need to insert him every scene made things even more annoying. He bumbled around in the back. You know, it just goes on and talks about, like, just rips the prequels to shreds. And I was reading this thing and I was like, God, nobody's happy then. Nobody's happy now. Real quick before I forget, we were talking about, I kind of went off a path, but I was talking about Kathleen Kennedy's credits. Just for those of you who don't know and didn't get curious and Google it a second ago, I've got a list of just some of them, and it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, Poltergeist, E.T., Twilight Zone, Gremlins, Indiana Jones, The Color Purple, An American Tale, Money Pit, Inner Space, The Land Before Time, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2, Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, Arachnophobia, Gremlins, Back to the Future 3, Hook,
maybe
Fear.
Leave that one out.
Yeah. Cape Fear, A Brief History of Time, like Schindler's List. Now I'm just skipping over Jurassic Park, Alive, The Indian in the Cupboard, Bridges of Madison County, Twister, The Lost World, Sixth Sense, Munich, War of the Worlds, Indiana Jones, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I could have left that one out. Ponyo, Star Wars, Rogue One, Star Wars, Solo. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's like the greatest movies in the history of cinema, period.
What's wrong with Hook?
Yeah, I liked Hook.
It's terrible.
I love Dustin Hoffman. Come on, man.
But I think that goes to show, like, she I think without a shadow of a doubt, she is the best movie producer to have ever lived. Like, you look at that, and I think a lot of those movies would be people's, like, they're iconic. They're a lot of people's favorite films of all time. Like the Indiana Jones films for me are some of my favorite movies of all time. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies of all time. E.T. again is another one. I'm pretty safe to think that at least one of those films will be in people's top 5 movies. One of those films will be in people's top 5. So, when you're talking about a villain, can a person that's done all that really be a villain?
Yeah. If she is, she's at least the most qualified villain in the history of Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My biggest criticism with Danzig says my biggest criticism with Kathleen Kennedy is that really there was no plan for the sequel trilogy. I always felt they should have gone the Lord of the Rings route, film all 3 back to back, same director, one clear vision. Yeah, well, let's go through these movies. First of all, the Force Awakens, right? You got a big Disney film. And people saw it, they went absolutely bonkers. They went crazy. And this was so long awaited. People were so excited about the new Star Wars that of course it did $2 billion. It like, people have been waiting, and this was it. We're gonna have the greatest thing ever. So it does really well. From a business standpoint, Disney didn't want to go too far off the path. They have to kind of do something that's, and everyone complained that this was a carbon copy of the old Star Wars. Well, they kind of got to do that. They're going to play it safe. It's a corporate business, and yes, that's the problem. It's a big, huge company doing this, but they played it safe on that one, and it was $2 billion. Then they have all of the press, all the people, all the angry fans, all the happy fans, but everyone's saying, "Oh, it's the same old thing. I wish they'd have done something new." So then they get, J.J. Abrams, when they hired him to do the first of the sequel trilogy, he had done a Mission Impossible and Star Trek on Paramount, and they were huge successes. So he was a safe bet. Like, this guy can handle a big franchise. This guy can complete the project. And let's talk. I keep derailing. I'm going this way and this way. Let's talk about what a producer's job is, and then let's talk about what a exec's job is. You know, a producer's job is to hire a director and also try and get some hot talent if they can. The director also gets talent, but they handle a lot of money and oversee the whole project. It's a management situation, and they get someone they can trust to control the artistic details of the movie. If they see this person going, different producers do this to a different extent. You know, some people are more hands-on, some people are not. And I'm sure somebody who's made 50 hit movies like her is probably going to get up in someone's business a little bit, I would imagine, but because she needs hits, because she's got upstairs telling her, she's got Bob Iger telling her this has to be good. So but as an executive, your job is to put everyone in place, and she's not just looking at this one movie, she's looking at the whole franchise. So she has to make these choices and look at what the director's done, And if there's something good they've done, and if they look like they can handle this thing, that's who they want. They need a safe bet for this expensive movie. And so J.J. Abrams has a good reputation for making quality stuff, and also with the fandom has a good reputation too, fairly good. You know, people will argue about different things they liked and didn't like about him, but people like J.J. So anyway, so they got him on the first one. Last Jedi, they got Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson, he had made some interesting indie films and some Looper and Breaking Bad, and this was a little more of a risk. This is like, why did they get him? You know, well, people complained about the same old stuff every time. Let's get somebody else who's we trust him, and let's do something different. Hey, look at that angry Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill didn't like it, did he?
Yeah, not at all. And of course, people complained about that. It was something different, but you know, whether it's good or not, that's another story. There's a lot of people that really loved. I have friends that love Rian Johnson's Star Wars. They absolutely love it. And I have friends that absolutely hate it. I missed that comment.
I love it. It's my favorite Star Wars movie of all time.
Yeah, Reese, Kathleen Kennedy should not be in charge. Obviously, from her resume, she's good, but it seems like a struggle, like she struggles in charge. George Lucas struggled in charge. Everyone struggles in charge. What a leader. It's like, look, man, people want to talk about Favreau. People want to talk about Filoni. If we look at their credits, Favreau is definitely qualified to produce films. And
but he is a producer.
He's a producer,
he has produced movies.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying he's qualified to do that, but that's a different job than being in charge of the whole thing, being a studio head. That's a completely different job. And a studio head, it's like, if you have a really good surgeon, do you want that surgeon being an administrator and running an entire hospital? No, you want them in there doing surgeries. I want Filoni out there. He got promoted to creative director, that's perfect because he knows what's cool. Like, I trust his vision, you know what I mean? And Favreau, I trust him to make movies like for ages, you know what I mean? But when he came in on Iron Man, it's like, okay, this guy's is it, you know what I mean? And then jumping in and doing what he did with Mandalorian and playing it safe. He wanted to do a Boba Fett show, but he kind of stuck his toe in the water and was like, let's deviate a little bit. And he made a different bounty hunter show just to play it out. And I was like, cool, it worked. Now I can make the Boba Fett show I always wanted, you know? Instead of what do we got? She's given us an Obi-Wan show. I'm stoked for that too, Jedi Master EJ. So it's just interesting to see. And Rian Johnson, you said that's your favorite?
Yeah, the Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film of all time. I've kind of come to that conclusion after watching literally in lockdown. I think I've watched every Star Wars film multiple times since the first lockdown. And rewatching it, I was like, yes, there are problems, but let's be honest, there are problems with every single Star Wars film. There are plot holes in every single Star Wars film, but that doesn't stop you from loving them. And I watch it and I can kind of understand why people don't like this. I can understand why people that liked The Force Awakens, for instance, really don't like The Last Jedi, because it kind of deviates from that formula for the Star Wars film. And there are elements of The Last Jedi that are bad. For instance, the whole Canto Bight scene, all those scenes don't really need to be in the movie, but they're in the film because I think they're kind of, it's more... it's Rian Johnson putting an agenda across more than anything. I think that those particular scenes, but it's the first time, especially in the sequel trilogy, when you can sense that Star Wars is trying to open itself up to other ideas, and for me, that is so vital for Star Wars.
Yes,
because Star Wars has become stagnant, like really, and the Rise of Skywalker for me was the prime example of that complete and utter stagnation of the Star Wars franchise. Because what did they do? They panicked, and I think this is one of Kathleen Kennedy's biggest problems as far as the franchise is concerned. She's way too reactionary.
Yes,
and you can talk about Walter Hamada and the similarities that go on at Warner Brothers with the DC content. That they don't stick to a plan, And then you look at like Kevin Feige over at Marvel, and that's worked out because they've stuck to a plan. And they've, even though movies have been bad, they've stuck to their guns and they've gone along that trajectory. You know, there was Thor: The Dark World, which is one of the worst superhero movies ever made. that was made, and there was Iron Man 2, which is another really bad superhero film.
Thor 2, the second Thor.
Yeah. So
there's gonna be failures, you know what I mean? There's gonna be some are gonna do better than others. Where I think where she messed up is she didn't pull Feige. Feige is mining all of his, there's a million years worth of Marvel things to go back and pull from and make things, and I feel like they're trying to make new things and ignoring what's already there. And there's one time where she said that there's no novels, there's no this and that. I think at the time she maybe was comparing this to Game of Thrones or something, but she was like, there's no novels, there's no this, and like people are like, are you crazy? There's comics since the 80s, maybe 70s, and there's novels like crazy. The Thrawn series, there's a whole bunch of great content that's extended universe now. Like there's plenty of stuff to go look for, but they decided to do some new things, and I think it was a bad call. I think they should have gone with some of the other things. Also, I think The Mandalorian proves that we need to step away from the Skywalker thing and move on into new things. People are kind of over that, but they're completely intrigued with this universe. And I think they need to do that. I just think they wanted to, there's part of them they wanted to put the closing stamp on this while we still had some of the actors alive to be cameos. It's an easy transition. Like you go from Lucas to Disney. You throw the old characters in just to play it safe. You're going to have Han Solo. You're going to have Princess Leia in the movies. The old fans are going to love seeing them. We'll do something new for the new fans. It's going to be great. We're going to sell tons of tickets. Everybody's going to be happy.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And you know, it doesn't always happen that way. And oh, man,
I think their original plan, before getting to Danzig, was to have like the first film be Han Solo's film, the second film be Luke Skywalker's film, and the third film be Princess Leia's film. And I think that was their plan. If they had a plan, that was the plan. And then, of course, we lost Carrie Fisher, and that kind of put their plan through a loop. And also, I would agree. Like, I do think to a certain extent, Rian Johnson kind of ruins that. Like, even though I love that film, as far as the trilogy is concerned, doing a film after the Rise of the Last Jedi, doing another Star Wars film is very hard because story wise, he kind of put you into a dead end and then blew up the only exit.
He probably did that so he could write the next ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. He's still technically doing another Star Wars film, isn't he? He's writing another Star Wars trilogy. So let's wait and see what happens with that.
Well, they had they were gonna do a Boba Fett movie too, and I'm trying to remember who was the one who was supposed to.
Trank.
Josh Trank.
Trank. Yeah, they quickly got rid of him.
Yeah, he got the flu.
There it is.
During D23, and then they canceled it a week later.
Well, this guy too, when he was working on the Fantastic Four, he was really erratic and he wouldn't answer questions. There was a lot of weird stuff going on, and the producer. Simon Kinberg was a producer on Rogue One, and pretty much told Kathleen Kennedy, "This guy's not going to work." No, he had done Chronicle, and he was the youngest person to have a #1 movie in the cinema. Yeah. And so it was like, this guy clearly is really talented, but I think he got thrown into the big pond. You know what I mean? Too soon, and it wasn't ready to handle it. It's probably, I would guess, maybe a little bit of insecurity issues, or maybe he had suits telling him how to direct. He didn't like it, but he turned out to be somebody that they didn't want to work with. You know what I mean? And they had to really go in and do some things to make that movie come out and on time, Fantastic Four, and do reshoots. So when Kathleen Kennedy heard this, she's like, "I'm not going to have that guy working for me. I can't do that." That's, which is a good move. You don't want somebody, and it's the same thing. changing directors, you're like, okay, I'm going to get J.J. Abrams. That was the safe bet on the first one. I'll just bring him back in on the third one. That's her job, is to make safe bets and have competent directors, you know.
And do you want to? Dan Zig says she's not a bad producer. She has a vast legacy that's well earned. However, it's time for a change at the top. And I get the impression that a lot of people think that, like, as far as Kennedy is concerned.
I think so too, you know, and I wonder about who they would get. Who do you think they would get if they were to replace Kathleen Kennedy, Edward? Who would you get?
There's only really one name, isn't there? As the people know that it's Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
But then if you get, honestly, I don't think he'd take it, because I think for him it would make no sense. He's someone that, first off, he's not just a producer and a director and a showrunner. He's also an actor. And being Lucasfilm president, I think Disney would be very, very happy should Kathleen Kennedy just stay in that position as long as she can. Like, and personally, I would be happy if she did as well, because even though there have been some missteps with the Star Wars films, I think overall we've had some. I mean, I could never ever have imagined that we would have had a Solo film that I have actually grown to be very fond of. I think Rogue One is a really good movie. She's giving us a Kenobi series. That was her decision to do that.
Yes.
You know, The Mandalorian was her that greenlit The Mandalorian. You know, we've got Ahsoka coming out. We've got Andor coming out. We've got, well, I don't know what's happening with what's the supposed Gina Carano series that's
Rangers of the Republic got canceled. They canceled that one.
They canceled it, yeah.
Mando has been great. She's got better people now with Favreau and Filoni, which is exactly the head of a studio's job, is to put people in place. That's a management position. So I feel like they got the sequel trilogy out of the way, and now they're putting their people in place, and they're able to do new things. And I think it'll be easier for Lucasfilm to move forward and create things because they have good leadership. Yeah. You know, the middle management, if you will, Filoni and Favreau are taking care of that, and they're gonna make sure. So I don't know. I have a feeling after Indiana Jones that she's going to step down. I think that's going to be her last Indiana Jones 5. That's going to be her last hurrah. And I have a feeling she'll step down, because she doesn't need this. She can go produce movies and make way more money. She doesn't need than what they're paying her. She doesn't need that.
That makes sense, because that Indy 5 was definitely something that she really wanted to get done. Like, so that would make sense. That's
just my belief. I feel like that's a good way. It's like they're not. I don't think they're not going to just push her out. And since she's working on that now, I think they're just going to let her do that, and then she'll probably step down. I think.
If Harrison Ford doesn't get in any more accidents.
God,
yeah, totally,
seriously, man. Wrap that guy in cotton wool. Seriously.
Talking about Solo, Solo, I thought was good. You know what I mean? What's funny is people were so bent out of shape about The Last Jedi that they boycotted Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did a boycott, and then and they also had moved The Last Jedi release date up, so it was like 6 months between the two. A lot of people want to blame it on that. I don't think that makes any difference. Like, we have Marvel stuff that comes six months after that. It doesn't make any difference. But I think the fans boycotting Star Wars might have affected it a little bit. Another thing about that movie is after I watched it, I liked it, but I didn't have any desire to see anyone else in Harrison Ford's role. I was like, that's a sacred role. That is Harrison Ford. You can't replace him. And if you do, it's like a bad impression. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you do that? You don't. Just make something else. You know what I mean? A side character or something. Like, I don't know. And so I felt like going into it, there was going to be some problems. And it's different making a Boba Fett series, because he's got a helmet on, and there's a lot less of Harrison Ford, you know, just being awesome. Like, so I kind of thought before it happened that it was going to fail.
Should we go through the comments to have a look at
let's
what
do it.
Listening? So second half of Solo is fantastic. So 75 YBA. I agree with you. I think the second half of Solo is brilliant. Who else do we have? We have Edwin Weir says Ulysses S. Grant was a great general, not such a great president. The same is true for Kathleen Kennedy as a film producer and a movie studio president. Well, I don't know much about Ulysses S. Grant because my knowledge of American presidents is quite limited. But as far as president of Lucasfilm is concerned, I really, really disagree with you on that. But that's just because I think you look at where Star Wars is now. Star Wars is in a very good place. And I think for me, her biggest win, Kathleen Kennedy's biggest win, was at the Disney Investors Day presentation, when I think she came out and knocked it completely out of the park. I think her bit of the presentation was better than Kevin Feige's. She just announced thing after thing after thing. And that made me really excited. Like first off, her getting Taika Waititi to say, I'm not going to do the Akira movie, like for now, I'm going to go and do a Star Wars film after I've done Thor, Love and Thunder. Oh my God, like a Taika Waititi film. Yes, thank you. She also nicked Patty Jenkins. Like, to me, I don't think Patty Jenkins will end up doing Wonder Woman 3. I think that will fall through, and I think she'll stick to doing Rogue Squadron. I think someone also in the comments asked about Rogue Squadron, actually. I think here, that boy Steve said, do we know for sure when Rogue Squadron movie is going to take place? So that we do know, but someone's going to have to do some research on that because I cannot remember off the top of my head.
Did you say Patty Jenkins is not doing Rogue Squadron anymore?
She is. I don't think she'll do Wonder Woman 3.
Oh, okay.
I think she'll leave. Yeah, I think she'll leave that, and then she'll just do Rogue Squadron, because that was another part of the Disney Investors Day presentation that I loved, was when she came. She did her roller skate thing, and she was in like the suit, the orange suit, and talking about her dad and how her dad was a fighter pilot, and she was just waiting for the right film to come along, and it was Rogue Squadron. So I think that'll be really good. I think even though Wonder Woman 1984 isn't very good, I'd actually say it's bad. I do think that Patty Jenkins is a very good director and a very astute director, and someone that's perfect for Star Wars.
This has nothing to do with Patty Jenkins, but did you see the Rogue Squadron trailer for the game? It was pretty amazing. It was like a really amazing Rogue Squadron, and it made me think that when I found out they were going to make this movie, I said, man, it's going to look amazing. Reminiscent of when we had that first look at the Millennium Falcon, like flying around and everybody just freaked out. You know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be a really, really beautiful film. I think it's going to be really good.
I think it's going to be good. So I'm looking, centers on a Rebel Alliance starfighter squadron from the Star Wars films. Now, I do think they announced when it was going to take place, but that I cannot. I'm going to have to go through that. So why don't you go through the comments, Clint?
Yeah, I don't see the comments. I'd say I just hope Ruin Johnson is done. I'm sure. Exit Kathleen Kennedy, enter Walter Hamada. No, sir.
You know what? Walter Hamada might greenlight, if he were involved, he might greenlight one thing that I would love, which is a Star Wars horror movie. That would be good. For as long as I can remember, I've wanted a Star Wars horror movie. They'll never do it because Star Wars is for kids, and I think a lot of people forget that. But I would really, really love to see a Star Wars horror film. I don't think they'll ever do it. Maybe on like Star or something, they might do something like Star Wars related that's slightly horror themed. One interesting thing, The Bad Batch, I think, takes a lot of cues from horror movies, and there are callbacks to Alien and things like that in that. So they're obviously looking at it. I'd love it if they did it.
I was also thinking about, like, I did a lot of research and looking into different things, like in talking about Solo, and Kathleen Kennedy's done a lot of cool things where she replaces people where they need to go. You know, like they had Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who had done like Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, and they were doing more of ad lib comedy. It was supposed to be a fun comedic thing, and you had like Lawrence Kasdan, the writer, that was like, no, man, that's not who he is. Like, Harrison Ford is not a comedic personality. He's sarcastic and selfish. You know what I mean? Yeah. And having the ability to step in and say, sorry guys, even though you did these hit movies that were fun, you know, even though you have like Guardians of the Galaxy that's silly and fun, that are hits, instead of trying to make a hit movie like that's funny, we're going to try and stay true to the character of Han Solo, and making those moves. They're kind of risky, but it's like, it's important to do, you know what I mean? And that's It's pretty cool, I think. And there was something else. Oh, Rogue One too. Rogue One, that movie was a mess, and they got a writer to come in, and I have his name written. I got so many notes.
Tony Gilroy. They
yeah, there it is. Yeah, came in and they rewrote the ending and reshot a bunch of stuff and fixed that movie. Rogue One is probably my second favorite out of all of Star Wars, and it's a new piece. You know what I mean? And it's fantastic, and I think that's great. Like to be able to come in and say, "Hey guys, we need to fix this." That's her job, and that's a producer's job too. You know.
I do want to play devil's advocate here, though.
Okay, go for it.
Should she have hired those people in the first place? I don't think she should have ever hired Lord and Miller to make a Star Wars film. I think that was completely wrong.
I agree.
I don't think. I mean, I love Gareth Edwards. Right. I've actually met the guy. He's a really nice guy. He directed a great film called Monsters, which is an incredible movie. And then he went and did Godzilla. And I love the first Godzilla. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I've watched it so many times now. And I think, like, visually, that's one of the most stunning action movies ever made. And I would say the film that Gareth Edwards ended up making, so this is actually something that I've actually spoken to Gareth Edwards about. This is a while ago when I was working for Melty in France. And he said the film that I made was very dark. It was a very dark film, and I showed the producers and Kathleen Kennedy a very rough cut of the movie, and they were saying, "Okay, do that. Let's see how it goes." And then ended up with a pretty final cut of the film, which was very dark. Like, the end of that film is kind of, even though everyone dies, it kind of ends on a hopeful note. Not the end, but the ends with the two main characters when they're hugging each other, and then you can see the explosion, and it's kind of light. That he said originally that was like there was bloods, it was like a war film, a full-on war movie that he had made. But that was the film he'd pitched to them.
Right.
So he made the movie that he had pitched. And what they did was they got Tony Gilroy to come in because the producers watched the movie and they panicked. And they were like, "Oh my God, this is way too depressing. Like, no kid is going to want... we're going to have kids crying. And we don't want that." But then I'm thinking, well, what the hell were you thinking in the first place? Because he pitched this to you to begin with. And honestly, I would say #release the Edwards cut, because that would be really interesting. Now, I do love Rogue One. I think Tony Gilroy, he spoke about this as well, and he said it was a mess. But Tony Gilroy was going to say that because he's like, I'm Tony Gilroy. He thinks he's great. There's a lot of stuff about Tony Gilroy that I won't go into now, but I don't think he's a very nice person. But he did oversee the reshoots, and the reshoots were basically directed by him. And you know what? Credit to Gareth Edwards for just sticking around and giving a face, because I can just talking to him about it, I could tell he was pissed off. Like, he had sold them something and he had delivered on that, and they basically shat all over him. And I would say, for me personally, I think the way he was treated, and this is just because I know about it and I know him relatively, like, I actually know him relatively well, and his next project's going to be amazing. Looking at how they treated him and actually how Kathleen Kennedy treated him, for me, that was her biggest mistake. Not planning out the trilogy. The way she treated him was bad. And the way he just stuck around and went to the Star Wars celebration I went to in London, and was there and was talking to everyone about it, and still was excited about the film. It is sad to me, because I don't think anyone deserves that, and that was upsetting. And I would love to see one day have his version of Rogue One come out. I don't think people could handle it, though. I think a lot of Star Wars fans might find that a bit too tricky.
I think after a little time goes by, I think maybe they can handle it. I think people now, if they release it now, I think it would work. Release the Edwards cut. Let's do it. For Edwards cut for Edward.
You should get that going, because Gareth Edwards is, like, literally, if you've watched Monsters, that film is incredible. They just went around Mexico and just got out of trains and started shooting in the middle of nowhere, and he edited it in his bedroom, and it was all very low budget. And when you watch that film, you would not think it was. You would think it was a big budget movie.
Yeah, but okay, with The Last Jedi, did we get the Rian Johnson cut?
That movie we probably did do, yeah,
because he did Brick, and that was amazing, and he pretty much shot that in his bedroom or edited
but
in his
that's
bedroom and stuff.
yeah, and they were going for directors like that. They were going for directors that were kind of more kind of from an indie area, which is actually something that Marvel has done very well. Like Marvel has brought in directors that have
parallel what you were saying, like give us the Edwards cut because the studio meddled in it.
Yeah,
and he's the same kind of director as Rian Johnson, the same kind of roots.
Well,
we got the Rian Johnson cut, and everyone hates it. Which
yeah,
honestly, the Last Jedi, to circle back, I really enjoyed it. I liked it. There was bad moments like the cow milk and all that stuff.
It's a weird line to walk though, because you got to make fans happy. You got the marketing department wants to sell toys, and you have to keep it family friendly because it's Disney, and so you have that to do. You can't blow everyone up. This is a Disney film, you know what I mean? So it's like you get this guy, so they tone it down a little bit to make it, we can't have a rated NC-17
but they do that
film.
and they do that, and then they add a sequence at the end of Rogue One, which, trust me, I know loads of Star Wars fans only love that movie because of the end with the corridor scene with Darth Vader, where Darth Vader's literally chopping people in half. And then they're like, yeah, that's fine, but we won't have the, impactful emotional scenes of like what war is really like. Because Gareth Edwards' whole idea was to show what the war on the ground in the Star Wars universe would have been like. So we really didn't see it.
So was Gareth Edwards' version, did that have the Darth Vader hallway scene at the end?
No, it didn't.
No? Well, then I've one more point for Kathleen Kennedy, because that is one of my favorite.
That was a Tony Gilroy reshoot.
1 minute of cinema, of my favorite of all cinema ever. I nearly ripped the arms off of this movie theater seat. I was like, "Holy crap! Are you kidding?" I blew my mind. Fantastic. And another thing is how they dovetailed it into a Phantom Menace. All of a sudden I'm seeing this looks familiar, and then they glued it together. I think that's fantastic. That's what they're doing with a lot of things now, where it's like they're gluing this universe together and bringing us other things. I think that's really cool. I think it's great. Let's see, what are we doing here? Do we have any comments? What are you guys saying down there in the comments? Star Wars horror, I'd love it. Absolutely. I think people give Kathleen Kennedy more crap for her LS than her WS when it comes to Star Wars. What is that? What is an LS?
Losses and wins.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm a boomer. Us old guys. Yeah, I think she's got a lot of wins, and people don't want to admit it. But here's another thing. Like I said earlier, I think it gets clicks to complain about her, and once you see a whole, dude,
sorry.
Yeah, we'll call him Mike Nero and Doomplop have both made a lot of clicks, over at Blu-ray DVD.
Sources have told me.
Yes, it is. And Mike Nero, he says it was said that blah blah. Who said it? It was said. One of my buddies. That's his. He always. I'll start talking about something, and he'll just say it was said, and I go, oh, I see what you're doing there. Yeah, it's hilarious, but
take this with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, we love to hate these people. We love it. Like, it's fun to hate these people. But guys, listening at home, next time you're like, yeah, but if they got rid of this person, blah, blah, stop for a second. Because that's what I did when I thought about, hey, are they villains? It'd be fun to just get on and talk about it.
Yeah.
What do you really know about it? Like, what do you really know about it? Like, you heard from this guy on this channel. You don't have to listen to what I'm saying or what Edward's saying. I mean, what do you... Like,
what? Wait, stop. Wait, they have to listen.
No, always listen to Edward, but me, you don't have to who knows where I got my info. And you should think that way about everything you see out there, because there is a lot of stuff out there that we watch it and we just say, yeah. And then we'll go regurgitate this buzzword or this thing that we heard on YouTube and go and get into arguments and like, no, you're wrong. You don't know what the you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Do you remember, Clint? Do you remember when they were talking about the George Lucas cut of The Rise of Skywalker?
Yes.
I
was excited.
I was like, what are you talking about?
This
you
is gonna be
people?
awesome. And man, there's a lot of stuff that's out there. I get it, man. Like people are fans of this stuff. People like we all go to work and we go to school and we do our daily grind and like life can suck sometimes, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's a nice cold beer. Sometimes it's watching Star Wars that makes you like get you through the day. Sometimes, you know, and then you get something that doesn't do it for you, and it's like that didn't do anything. That's like you know, for those who like beer, that's like getting a non-alcoholic beer. Wait, what the hell? I asked for a regular, you know what I mean? Like it didn't do it for you. Yeah, you're gonna get mad, but I mean, it happens. There's gonna be some failures. There's gonna be some wins, and I don't know, but
they can't all be like 4 or 5-star movies. There will be some films that won't do quite as well, and won't and with Star Wars especially, like the fandom itself is so split. We're talking a lot about, you know, in the past about the DC fandom. Right. I actually think the Star Wars fandom is to a certain extent worse than the DC fandom because it first off, I mean, I think it's actually a lot more people that watch Star Wars than watch the DC movies, just judging by numbers alone. And like box office numbers, but also they are so like opinionated, and they are so Star Wars fans feel a sense of ownership of Star Wars more than I think DC Comics or Marvel fans do, because for so many years, being a DC and a Marvel fan was kind of niche, and it was like lots of comics, and you know, but with Star Wars, they started off with the movies, and the movies did really well, and they got really, really famous, really popular, really early on, literally from the beginning, and then it got a bit weird, you know, in the middle with the sequel, with the prequel trilogy, and then it's kind of like it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't with Star Wars, and that's why, like, look at how many people that, like, literally it's probably 50-50 people that love The Last Jedi and people that hate it, and then probably like there's a lot of people in the middle as well that just think, oh, it's fine, but it, you know, but they're so vocal. They are so vocal.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that hate gets you know, you have to have one person, and with Star Wars, I think that it's actually two people. I think that the people that get the most hate are Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, and the amount of hate that Rian Johnson got for that film I thought was ridiculous, like utterly ridiculous. And then not only that, you look at what happened with Kelly Marie Tran, like the actress who got so much hate for literally her just acting in a movie, being told what to do, like, you know, and she left Instagram and social media because of that, and that's not right. How can anyone be okay with themselves for bullying someone to that extent? They have to leave social media entirely and just be like, look, I can't do this for my mental health. That's not right, and that's you don't really see that with DC Comics actors, do you, or DCU actors? So I feel like people need to calm down, and it's all fun, and you can like it or not like it and stuff like that. But I think sometimes Star Wars fans just go a bit too far.
They do. Absolutely. I agree. And I think there's a lot of fandoms that do that, you know, and it's funny too, in this day and age, there's a lot of different things that it's like, it's not just, was it good? Was it bad? It's like, I don't like these characters. Now there's all kinds of identity politics and things that people, certain demographics get upset about certain things and say, oh, this is an agenda. Other people are like, hey, that's great. Other people hate that. Some people think that this thing should be story based. There's just so many different conflicting things that it's like, if you're Kathleen Kennedy, the villain, the subject of this stream, how are you going to make all of these people happy? You're not. It's period. There's no way to make everyone happy. And so I think, you know, with some pitfalls, some learning, I think you, as a leader, you have to take risks. And I think she's taken them. I think she's taken reactionary measures, sometimes too strong, sometimes maybe not strong enough, but she's done that. And now we have these new people that are the saviors of Star Wars that are in place, that she put in place, you know, and it's okay. You know what? If she stays back there, it's like, hey, why don't you stay there and be the villain, and we'll just keep cranking stuff out. She's like, sure, I've been the punching bag for years. I'll just stand here and do that. You guys keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Hey, and then let's talk about what other cool things we're gonna do, like the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and all these things. And go ahead and do that. I don't care. I've got a big house and plenty of money. I'm gonna go home and people can talk crap about me on the internet all they want. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And then she can continue to win, because that's what ultimately, if you look at her whole career, she's a winner and she wins and she cranks out good stuff. Some of them are record breaking.
Some of the best movies ever made.
Ever. Yeah.
Right.
Taking the words right out of my mouth. And some of them aren't. Some of them are like, oh, okay. But that's kind of what's happening now. And I think she gets too much crap. I think she does deserve a little for ignoring the extended universe. There's interviews where she's like, yeah, they kind of. This one interview I saw, they kind of baited her a little bit. They're like, "Hey, was there a plan?" Yeah, we've Palpatine's been like, and we've been talking about him for a long time. It's been in the works, and so it is a plan, okay? And I was like, it's almost like they kind of twisted. Like she said it, but it was not definitely. She didn't say, yes, we definitely, from the time we started writing the first, we definitely discussed. It was just kind of like, yeah. And there's a lot of corporate double talk and press double talk that happens. Corporate speak's pretty common, and she knows how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of her words are taken literally. Whatever. I can't defend her on everything again, because she has made some mistakes.
But that's fun. She's human. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. So it's and when you're in charge of a franchise like Star Wars, you're gonna make mistakes. George Lucas made more mistakes than anyone, and he'll admit that. And of course, James here says, Steve, I haven't walked in her shoes, but I have made films and produced content. Imagine doing it for $1 billion franchise. Yes, imagine.
Yes,
nice.
That's why I think dude that was working on Fantastic Four,
Josh Trank.
I don't think he was ready for the big leagues yet. You know what I mean?
I don't think he's really ready to direct movies, to be honest. Josh Trank is I think we should do one of these on Josh Trank, because he is a very interesting character.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about him.
He made one pretty decent indie movie in Chronicle, where he introduced us to Miles Teller. There was Michael B. Jordan was in that movie as well, and that wasn't the first thing we've seen of him, but it was one of the bigger things, and it was a good film, but it was a small movie. And then I think it's unfair to then make him do a Fantastic Four film, and there hasn't been a good Fantastic Four film in a long time. I think it's quite a difficult thing to do cinematically, the Fantastic Four. And then the studio interference just got in the way, and again, it was going to be a much darker movie. That film ended up, I think Simon Kinberg basically just remade the whole film. You can see fake wigs in that movie as well. It's just dreadful. That film is dreadful. But more recently, he had that film that came out with Tom Hardy, where he was playing Al Capone. I think it's just called Capone.
I didn't see that. Did you see that one?
No, but I heard pretty negative things about it. So it seems as though he's in a bit of a difficult place. But again, that was probably another mistake that Kathleen Kennedy made in getting him involved in that. And they got rid of that pretty quickly. They did this. There you go. And they did the same. They did the same thing with Colin Trevorrow. They brought Colin Trevorrow in to direct the third Star Wars film. And then he made a movie. James is on point today. They brought him in to direct the third Star Wars film, and then he made a very bad film, which I can't remember what it's called, but it was terrible.
The Book of Henry.
The Book of Henry. That's it.
Yeah, with Naomi Watts.
Yeah, anything with Naomi Watts. Oh dear. I met her as well. She's very nice. I interviewed her, but there's.
I love her.
She's a terrible Diana, though. But it seems to be a kind of a running theme here with Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars, picking the wrong people to make films, and I think that is a problem. Hopefully, she's fixed it.
With Colin Trevorrow, he'd done really well with Jurassic World. She was involved with that, you know what I mean? So she's like, okay, but then she'd also butted heads with him a little bit. Apparently, his ego got a little bit out of control, which is interesting because to do great things like that, you need an ego. It's the ego that makes you do better than the next guy on a lot of things, but you got to keep it within reason. You know, I learned a lot of that dealing with Columbia Records, dealing with companies, and it's like to walk into a place and record a record, or to go in and make a movie, direct a movie, and have control of everything, and you have to believe you were amazing. You know what I mean? Or to pull it off. And this guy just got to his head a little bit. And then and so I was like, okay, I don't think I want to work with you on this after all. You know what I mean? Like you kind of got a little cocky on the last project, and you're seeming that way now. You know, that's probably what led to that.
I will say his leaked Star Wars script.
It's fantastic.
It's really good. So,
yes,
it's a shame.
It's called what is it called?
It's not Duel of the Fates, is it? Is that
it is Duel of Fates. Yeah, Duel of the Fates. There's do a search of that on YouTube, guys, and there's a video I saw with this guy. He goes through it and it shows images like storyboards, like drawings, and it looks like it would have been really cool.
It makes so much more sense than what they ended up doing. Like I was watching before this a video about that film and specifically, and it never dawned on me, but actually the Palpatine in the film is a clone. It's not the original Palpatine. And I was watching, I said, no, it makes so much more sense. But watching the film, that's not clear. Like, and it's just stupid.
It is. It's bad.
Bringing him back is so stupid.
It might even be the same thing that you watched, but I saw a walkthrough of that movie where this guy just bags all over it in a very sarcastic manner. Maybe I'll even share it. We'll add it to the comments or something. It's really funny. He goes through and tears that movie tears it to shreds. And I was watching that and I was like, holy crap, this movie was really bad. But again, I'm being influenced by a YouTuber. When I watched it on my own, did I really think that? No, I was glad to get some Star Wars, you know. And then I saw it twice. And the second time I was like scratching my head a little bit, but there's a whole lot of things like going to the planet, and you have to get you need this little MacGuffin or McMuffin.
Oh, yeah, the MacGuffin to find the MacGuffin.
Yeah, to get through the space thing, and then you get to the planet on the other side. But when they turn around and show, this guy called it a space cancer. When they show it, it's not surrounding the planet. So if you came from the other way, you could have just gone to the planet. It's really funny. There's a lot of little plot holes.
That whole dagger thing is so stupid as well, because someone made a dagger that was perfectly in the shape of the broken down Death Star, like the destroyed Death Star. It doesn't make any sense. It's like when you're reading it, you're like, what? Like, JJ, seriously? Like, I think that film more than anything showed that what JJ Abrams is really good at is coming up with mystery boxes. He does not know how he doesn't know what's inside those mystery boxes. Let's be honest. He never does, and he never has done. He never will do. I think I'm going to say it here. J.J. Abrams is a hack. And,
no!
Yes, yeah.
I like JJ.
I think he's a hack.
Yeah. It pretty much showed up with a bunch of duct tape and like, all right, let's do this.
You know who's good? That guy in the original films. I like Palpatine. Is that his name? Like, he's got so many names. It's like Darth Sidious or something. Or get him in. Oh, he's a clone. What?
I'm excited. They're getting Thrawn in the mix. I love Thrawn. I think he's awesome.
Sorry, you've got to come up with this comment. It's probably Gwyneth Paltrow's head in the mystery box.
What's in the box? Yeah. What other comments do we have? Do we have any questions or any points regarding Kathleen Kennedy or any of the Star Wars that we should talk about? The problem with a lot of the Star Wars franchise post-original trilogy, none of it sticks out in a positive way, with The Mandalorian being the only exception. I agree with you.
Okay, yes.
Paraphrasing.
Do you think Mandalorian season 1 is that good?
I think it's good. I think it was
fine.
I think it was safe. I think it was safe, and it was cool, and it was mysterious. And here's something that was interesting. I was listening to another popular nerd show where these two were talking about it, and the female that was in the stream was talking about it. She was like, "Yeah, Mandalorian. I don't think it's that good." Like, she said, "Yeah, I don't like the whole Western samurai vibe. And it was really interesting to me because I thought about it, and this goes back to my thing about the age, the generations and stuff. I'm like, that's what Star Wars is supposed to be. That's what Lucas intended the whole time. It's supposed to be like he wanted to recreate the serials and stuff, and Flash Gordon, and kind of combine them both together. And the Western samurai kind of thing. That's what a Jedi is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Jedi, and that's what Boba Fett is supposed to be. It's kind of that kind of vibe. So, but somebody that's younger, like way younger than I am, to say, yeah, I didn't really like it. It was kind of a weird Western samurai thing. I didn't have enough of a sci-fi vibe kind of a thing. And I'm like, your idea of what Star Wars is completely different than what Jon Favreau's idea of Star Wars is.
And George Lucas.
And George Lucas. It's really interesting because you have like a whole bunch of different demographics that all love this thing enough to get pissed off about it and talk on social media, but they all don't agree with what it's supposed to be. So how do you make all those people happy?
People got to watch The Hidden Fortress and know what real Star Wars is. Let's be honest.
The Mandalorian was good. It had a few rough episodes because they're still trying to find their footing. Plus, they were dealing with new technology.
Yeah.
And I think Filoni might have been under a few restrictions because it was his first live action thing he's directed.
Yeah.
But I got to say, towards the end of it, it really got really good. They found their footing. And then the second season was absolutely amazing.
I think you're right. I think season 2 for me was where I was like, oh, this is really good.
But I mean, I've seen a lot of other series with the first seasons that are like absolutely horrible. Yeah. Like if you look at Star Trek Next Generation or basically any other Star Trek show,
Firefly.
Sorry.
No, it usually takes up. It used to take up to like the third season for them to find their footing and the characters and the direction they wanted to go in, and then for the audience. But I think Mandalorian did that in a few episodes. To be honest, once they hit that fourth or fifth episode, then it was like on track for sure.
Mm.
And now they're like venturing out and splitting off of that, and there's going to be a bunch of other good stuff that comes from that. I love that they're pulling things from like Rebels and pulling things from Clone Wars and and it's all just kind of all coming together.
Legacy content.
Yeah.
That's what Kathleen Kennedy said she didn't want to do, but the people change their minds, right? Especially when they're steering the ship. Let's can we rifle through these comments?
Yeah, let's
Thank you.
Pop them up here.
We've already done that.
It's probably Gwyneth Paltrow's head in the mystery box. What's in the box? I feel like I've done this before. J.J. Abrams is a complete hack. He's a shit version of Spielberg. That's rude.
He's a shitberg. What?
Oh. Colenberg, as my brother would say. Okay, paraphrasing, but the old it's easier to break people down than build them up, saying still holds to be true. It is sad but true. But that's true.
It's true.
I fell asleep through the last Star Wars movie in the cinema. Shows you how good that was. And Rey Skywalker at the end, that was just stupid.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I'm Rey Skywalker. Oh, fuck off.
Yeah. Disney should get Sam Witwer to direct an episode of The Mandalorian. He's a bigger fan than Filoni. What do you think of that?
I mean, he's the guy that does a lot of the voices. So he does Palpatine, I think he does in the animated shows, and he does a bunch of them. He also was if you played the game, what was it called again? The one where you play as like a Darth Vader's apprentice. Oh, what was that? It was really good. Oh god,
Force Unleashed.
The Force Unleashed. That was it. He was the face of the character in that. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm name dropping again, but I've met a lot of these people. Sam Witwer is a really, really nice guy. He's a voice actor. It's what he is. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd like to direct one of these episodes. I think it was a big deal that they let Dave Filoni direct a live action episode, because he'd never done one before. And actually, a really interesting thing is to watch the behind the scenes of how the making of The Mandalorian, and just seeing how nervous he was. And I think the first episode, he directed an episode in the first season, but for me, like looking at that episode when Ahsoka Tano comes into it, that episode in season 2 for me is like the best episode of anything like Star Wars related I've ever seen, because that is literally just ripped straight out of a samurai movie and bam into a Star Wars film. I was like, this is what I want. This is what you want. You want Star. One of the reasons why we love Marvel so much is because it crosses genres, movie genres, and things like that. Star Wars hasn't done that quite yet, but that was the first time it did it. And The Mandalorian is kind of the first time it's done it as well, when it's kind of blended samurai stuff with Western stuff. And that's why I love it so much, specifically the second season. I think the second season is really good. Luke kind of coming in at the end, I thought was a bit too fan servicey, but I did cry. So,
I got a big lump in my throat. I didn't
cried.
I didn't go full cry, but I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he Sam Witwer, he's the voice of Darth Maul as well. He does a lot of different voices.
But he's never directed anything.
I don't think he's ever directed anything. But
honestly, you'd have to like do a short film or something first.
Yeah.
If Filoni is he worked on. I've got his credits and stuff, and it's like. Everything it's like a graph, and it's like director, writer, it's no, but when you finally get the yeses, it's like mostly it's art department stuff, you know what I mean? And then on some of the animated stuff, there's some yeses where he's done that, like, but he directed the Mandalorian episode that you were talking about, and but now there's gonna be, you've have all these new properties that are coming out, with Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett and stuff, and I'm sure he's got some yeses. There's a Ahsoka, that's his baby, for anybody that doesn't know, that's his character that he created, and I think it's cool that he went and basically is like George Lucas's apprentice, you know what I mean? So it's cool that they've got him in place, and he gets what's cool and what's not cool. It's like. Agreed. They should, as far as creativity, they should ask him, hey, what creative direction should we go in, and have him pilot that. Oh wait, they appointed him creative director of Lucasfilm. Oh, that's weird. Okay.
But he definitely, to anyone that's saying Dave Filoni should be president of Lucasfilm, no, he shouldn't. You should just let him be a creator and do that thing, and then maybe further down the line, yes, he could do something like that. But I'm sorry, Mark.
when he's 60 years old and he's got a gajillion credits, but right now he still has that passion and love and create. Let the creator create. You know what I mean? You let the I hate to keep putting it back in a musician thing, but you let the musician turn into the old record producer once he's and it's a different world. The word producer means something else, but you let them go into management. You let them to go do that once they've created for years, and that's what they should do with him. Let him do his thing. Gareth Evans should make a Clone Commando series or movie.
So do you know who Gareth Evans is?
I do not. Gareth
Evans is a
Raid.
The Raid. He directed The Raid and The Raid 2. And both incredible films. And I don't get why Gareth Evans hasn't got to do anything else after that. Like, he is such a good action. Like, The Raid is some of the best martial arts. It's one of the best martial arts movies made in recent years. And then The Raid 2 just steps it up a notch and goes even more like crazy than the first film.
I think he's probably trying to. Sorry, I think he's probably trying to find the right studio and without as many restrictions. I mean, they shot that in with Jakarta.
Yeah,
they shot in Jakarta.
In the Philippines. It's a Filipino movie.
And Indonesia. Sorry, it was Indonesian, I think.
Was it Indonesian? Maybe. Yeah. I think his wife.
So there's a lot less restrictions, and they were just probably working 24/7 hardcore on that. Sorry, you saw the first one, Clint?
I did. It was good.
Yeah, the first film was really good. And actually, the two main actors from that are in the Force Awakens. They're both, and they're completely wasted.
Yeah, they have like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
I think and James, I sent you this the other day, and I think you'd already seen it. But there's like some really cool cinematic. There's like a 22-minute video of the Old Republic, Star Wars: Old Republic footage taken from the video games, all pieced together. And I'd never played that game. When I saw this, it's like it says 4K. If you look it up, it's like Knights of the Old Republic 4K cinematic, and you watch that, and it's about a 20-minute video. And I was like, why aren't they doing this? There's all these cool old characters from a long time ago tons of Jedi and Sith back when you could have more than 2 Sith, and they were fighting, and it was just a giant gang fight. Like, get him to direct that. Let's get a bunch of super badass martial arts Jedi action happening. Make it happen. Do it.
Give him something with Darth Revan. Like,
yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Such a cool character, I have to say. That would be really cool.
That is not Darth Revan, but that was a nice pelvic thrust. That was. And good.
Actually, I think Danzig does say that Gareth Evans did the Gangs of London series, which is very good. So I did forget about that. Yeah, Gangs of London is brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think like one of the things I really want to see, you were talking about it before, and I've mentioned this before, is going into kind of the EU, like the expanded universe, sorry, a bit more, and bringing characters from there. They've already done it with Thrawn, so why not do it with Revan? Why not do it with what's the name of the Darth Bane?
Bane, yeah,
and like bring those sorts of characters in and do something really cool with those characters, and just keep it on. If you could even just keep it on Disney Plus or Star or whatever, and do stuff more like, because ultimately, yes, I know Star Wars is for kids, and that's their main aim, but now they have this other kind of area, like with the streaming service, and also their fans, Star Wars fans, are older now. You know, we're Star Wars fans, and they're kind of looking for this sort of stuff. And I would hope that would be the next step. And I think the Acolyte might be the start of that.
Yeah.
I've got the Leslie Headland series, which apparently is going to be political, and then people are freaking out about that. Yeah. I mean, seriously, guys, you get Leslie Headland in to be a showrunner of a show. Of course, it's going to be political. And don't tell me Star Wars isn't political. George Lucas made it political when he started banging on about trade routes.
That's right.
So Star Wars is political.
Yeah, there's a whole mess of things to fight about with all this stuff. Guys, let's just have some fun and watch some Star Wars. You know, that's what I think. So Edward, do you think Kathleen Kennedy is a villain in a
No.
No, guys. How about you guys at home? Are you guys still hell bent that Kathleen Kennedy is a villain? Is she a villain?
The current votes are it's 5 no and 2 yes.
5 no and 2 yes. All right. Just checking.
Kathleen comes out as not a villain. There's no sound.
Dun dun dun. Well, awesome. You want to hit the comments at all? Any last comments? We're at about an hour and 18 minutes. We could probably start shutting her down. Clint, I believe, is talking about the Old Republic cinematic from MMO. Yes, it looks amazing. It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Let's remember that when Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, did the prequels, people hated what he did. I think even Filoni being in charge of Star Wars storytelling still won't satisfy everyone. You're right, that boy, Steve. You are right. Yeah.
Also, release the despecialized editions of the original trilogy.
Yes, I think yes. That's one of the things that irks me the most about George Lucas, is the fact that he kept on fucking around with Star Wars after it was released. And he's like, I'm gonna add something here and just add something there. And it's
pretty brilliant though. Everyone bought the new editions every time.
What was he added something really? I remember watching it recently, and there's a really janky bit in one of them where Han Solo's walking behind Jabba the Hutt.
Yes,
and it's like suddenly he goes whoop, whoop, because he's meant to step over his tail. And I think originally
originally it was not the same Jabba. It was a different guy.
It was a different guy. That's so weird. That is so weird.
It was a different guy, and so then he went back and changed that Jabba to a Hutt looking thing. I guess we didn't see Jabba the Hutt till Return of the Jedi. So before that, they had a Jabba the Hutt scene, but it was just like a dude, and so they had to fix that. They had to go back and fix that and make it him. So yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
Guys working on this. It's like George Lucas on Skywalker Ranch. By the way, that's what I got up here.
Nice.
It's just like, I want to change this in the movie. It's like, why? Why? What do you? Because I think it'll make it better. You know, I think it'd be a lot better if we put like some pink lightsabers in the movie rather than like blue.
Well, I get it. He doesn't want some crybaby 40 years later saying, "How come the Jabba the Hutt in this movie is not the same as in this movie?" You know, so like he's got to fix everything continuity's sake. I get it.
Okay, pop quiz, Clint. Let's see if you can answer it. Who can you name the directors of the original Star Wars films in order?
No, George Lucas,
Ivan Kershner.
Yeah, I know Ivan Kershner and
Ross.
And what?
Last one I think was Ross Marquand, wasn't it?
Lawrence Kasdan, wasn't it?
No, Lawrence Kasdan just wrote them.
He's a writer, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was Ross Marquand.
I knew Kershner, but I forgot the last one. I didn't know that. When I was watching those dudes, I was a toddler. I saw Empire Strikes Back in
something Marquand, isn't it?
Yeah. I saw Empire in the theater. I was a toddler in the theater. I saw Empire Strikes Back. I wasn't worried about Kershner's name at that time.
That's the thing. Irvin Kershner made probably arguably the best Star Wars film of all time. He made The Empire Strikes Back. No one knows his name really, unless it's like one of those things that comes. It's Irvin? Is it Irvin?
Irvin Kershner.
Irvin Kershner. And it's like it's one of those things that probably comes up as like pub quizzes in the UK, like who directed The Empire Strikes Back. Everyone will be like, "Oh, George Lucas." Nah, nope. Wrong. He only directed the first film.
Don't forget about his wife, who was the editor, and she kept him in tow and kept George Lucas kind of grounded in the space opera.
Yeah, and he George Lucas, he said it took a little while that he was like, okay, I'm not directing this. But then after a little while, he was constantly looking over everyone's shoulder. He realized it's hard to not be in the driver's seat for him.
And let's be honest about George. He was more interested in selling toys.
Yeah. Do you think?
Yeah. After the first film, he just became a producer and was like, I really like this Luke, mini Luke, and the droids are pretty cool. I
think he's fascinated. I think he's trying to reproduce a lot of the things that he loved as a kid, as far as cinema goes. But I think he's more in love with the production side of it.
Yeah,
I think the effects and all that. I think that's his real passion, which I can relate to on a lot of levels. I think that's really cool. And he's like pioneered so many new ways to do things. Like it's insane. Even all the way till now with the volume, they get the volume. I know that Favreau, I think Favreau ILM figured that out, but he started that. You know what I mean? And it's like there's still Industrial Light and Magic. They're still paving new roads. You know what I mean?
No, they're miles ahead of everybody else. Like it's crazy. Like George Lucas, that's the thing that people do tend to forget about him, is that without George Lucas, and you can joke about him all you want, and I know I've done it, but without him, like CGI wouldn't be where it is today. Special effects wouldn't be where they are today. Literally, those Star Wars, like the prequels, I don't like, but you can watch them and just be amazed by how advanced they were as far as CGI is concerned. Like they were doing things in those movies that wouldn't, that it was actually properly groundbreaking, like really, really groundbreaking.
He even started what became Pixar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's one of those. That's one of his regrets is selling that off. At the time he sold it off was he'd just been through a divorce, so I think it was a cash thing.
I think George Lucas is less of an ideas man, as far as I don't think he's a very good storyteller, because a lot of his story is ripped off from other people. Let's be honest. Like I see in the comments someone mentioned Akira Kurosawa, and he was very much inspired by Akira Kurosawa, and also the Flash Gordon serials as well. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in Star Wars, and I do. Like I think people forget that, and that's when I always find it very funny when we're hearing rumors of a George Lucas cut of The Rise of Skywalker. It's honestly, and people are asking what George Lucas is doing nowadays. He's just spending a lot of time with his family, and he's on his Skywalker ranch, and he visits sets every now and again, and I think he sold it for how much? How much did he sell Star Wars for?
$4 billion,
which doesn't seem like that much.
Yeah, with inflation, man. No, I'm just kidding.
It's
it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money
sh-
for one person, but considering how
Yeah.
much money is being banded around for like stuff, like just crap stuff, like
especially now, Netflix would have given them way more than that.
Yeah, and like on like today, for instance, I did a story on Small Screen about how Warner Media and AT&T just sold off Playdemic, which is a mobile game company. They sold it off for $1.4 billion to EA, to Electronic Arts.
Wow.
And I'm like, what's Playdemic? And they're a mobile company.
They made a golf game.
They made a golf game.
And that's it.
That's why I had to send you that article.
Yeah, and I did it because it's hilarious, and it's like it's literally worth a fourth of Star Wars. It's like, what? It's insane.
Yeah.
So I think everyone
Can you guys
agrees
hear me?
that. Yeah, I think everyone agrees that she's not a villain. I think that's the
No.
oh, so much cheese.
That's good. I like it.
I had to mute my mic. My dog started freaking out about something. I was like, oh.
Your dog thinks Kathleen Kennedy's a villain. That's why.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, she is a villain. Well, cool, guys. Well, thank you, Edward, for joining me on this thing. This was super fun. I agree. We should take some more villains and talk about them. If they're not quite as big of a villain as Kathleen Kennedy, maybe we could throw a couple of them in one episode. You know what I mean? And talk about a couple of them. But guys, we have a patreon.com/smallscreenco if you want to help us out. And we every Friday do a live stream, as you guys know. So we hope we see you guys then on a Friday. And James, thanks for doing all the producing and behind the scenes stuff. And thank you all of you in the chat for chiming in and giving us some fun stuff to talk about.
Fun stuff. Fun point. James is our Kathleen Kennedy. So I think the next episode should be, is James Simon a villain? And then
No.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, that's good. That's a face to remember right there.
Avi Arad. Oh god, if you got him involved in Star Wars, that'd be you definitely get a horror movie.
But we definitely do have to do a stream on Avi Arad for sure.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, I love that guy. You can find Small Screen at Small Screen Co. everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can find me at EJ Lauder. And where can we find James?
We can find
James.
Clint Baker at the OG Clint Baker on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's right. The OG Clint Baker on Twitter.
And your YouTube?
And my YouTube is youtube.com/Clint Baker channel.
I thought you were going to do the, it's like youtube.com/Y234.
7.3 semicolon at
No, that's good. You got Clint Baker.
in my mind, it sounds like the American AOL. Bing bong bong. That was a weird sound. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, well, this was fun, guys. Again, thank you guys for joining us, and we're going to be back soon with more villains to talk about on the show called Are They Villains? Oh, let me do that with reverb.
Dun, dun,
Are
dun.
they villains?
God, he's got everything there. Such a sound guy.
Thank you to Bobby, Danzig, Sax God, and Sean Harrigan for being our patrons. We appreciate it so much. Tune in tomorrow.